Okay, all right. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody. My name is Kale Brothers. I am the Director of Sales at Teldio. I am here today to talk to you guys about Avigilon and the integration we have with Avigilon. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to come and chat with us and learn about what we've been doing here at Teldio. We know that you're all extremely busy, so thanks so much for showing up. So we at Teldio, we've had an integration platform that we've been using to bridge different systems together for many years. And we decided to take a look at integrating with Avigilon. And after working with them and listening to them describe their system, what it's capable of, and where they think it's going to go in the future, we decided that an integration would be extremely valuable. So in this slide, you can see the Teldio Edge Gateway. You can see the Avigilon Control Center. In the center of those two, you can see a little shield that shows that we are now officially Avigilon certified. So it feels good. It's great to be certified with Avigilon. We're excited about that. So in this slide, you can see a variety of different inputs and outputs. Some examples of inputs are, door triggers, motion detection, humidity sensors, alarm systems. On the output side, it could be a mobile phone, a radio, alarm system, the cloud, maybe a dashboard in a control center. What we're trying to show you here really is the value of integration. For me personally, when I'm sitting at home and I'm on the couch, I want to watch a movie, and I go to turn on my TV, and there's a remote for my TV, there's a remote for my DVD or Blu-ray player, I guess now. There's a remote for the sound system. There's a remote for my Fire Stick. There's so many different remotes, and I hate it. What I would like is everything to be integrated into one thing. If you can get a universal remote, that's something people love. They love that integration, how everything's available to you in one place. And that's what these two systems combining together can give you. So we realized early on that our Edge Gateway complements the Avigilon ACC extremely well. The ACC has, an incredibly powerful rules engine that, you can create all sorts of different behaviors in response to video triggers, and that's extremely impressive. But when you tie it in with our Edge Gateway, which also has a really powerful rules-based engine, you can link it to external systems. You can create custom behavior in a response to these triggers that can come from some of these inputs you can see on the left-hand side. Combining these two systems together brings you guys immediate value. It extends ACC's awareness to external events and extends the ACC's reach into those external systems. The link between these two worlds is really the ACC alarm. So the Teldio Gateway itself can raise an alarm, configured in ACC, but it can also act on those alarms. This is a strong bidirectional connection between the two systems. Now that alarm is just a link. The power of ACC, its ability to do recordings based on movement, bookmark video, notify client monitoring stations. All of that can be combined with the power of the Edge Gateway, including an endless list of inputs, outputs, and protocols. And that's what we're trying to show you here. You can get information from all sorts of different external systems. You can send information to all sorts of external systems. And that's the value that your customer wants. That's the universal remote. That's what you can do that's special. So you've heard me talk about it now, but we figured the best way to show you guys this is to, well, show you. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Mark, and he's going to show you the system in action.
Thanks, Kale. Yeah, so as Kale mentioned, we actually want to show you our integration in action. So let me switch over here to our ACC interface. So as you can see here, this is the command center from Avigilon. We've got one of our cameras here at the top. It's a dome camera in our office. Showing Dimitri, one of our coworkers, who's going to be helping out with the demo. And down below, we have our Edge Gateway UI actually embedded into ACC. Because it's just running on a web server, You can have it as a portal in here and configure it all in one spot. At the top here, we've got alarms that we're going to be viewing in a little bit. Currently, we don't have any active alarms, but we do have some alarms set up. So if you look at the site, we've got a couple of different alarms here, one for motion, for badge. You'll see those being triggered in a little bit. So if I go back here now into our Avigilon ACC and our dashboard, so Avigilon already has a lot of outputs that can send events and alarms to radios and emails. And with our solution here, we can receive those events and dispatch them as well to radios and emails, but also SMS. And like Hale mentioned previously, there's lots of other outputs. So for example, calling a phone and playing an audio message. We can also do a telemetry event to either turn on lights or close doors or play horns. So that's as simple as receiving an alarm triggered from Avigilon and then sending it along. But what we really wanted to focus on was showing you how simple it is to receive events from external systems and sending those to Avigilon. So here, got Dimitri up above. We've got two things that we're going to be showing. So the first one is our IoT badge. So it's a little badge about the size of a credit card. It's got two buttons on it, which are configurable and can raise different events. So imagine this is being held or carried by a front desk employee at a hotel or a hospital or office building. And when they sense that there's a dangerous situation about to happen, they can press a button, and that button that event can come into our system and trigger an alert and then go to Avigilon. So here, if Dimitri is going to do a long press on the button, on the badge, it's going to come into our system, coming into our large alarm dashboard. You'll see it pop up here when she does a long square press. It'll come up here, but it'll also come into alarm dashboard on the Avigilon. So here it shows up in a Teldio Edge Gateway dashboard and under Avigilon. So let me clear those before we do the next one. So our next device is an AED, an automated external defibrillator. So you see these in things like airports and schools and office buildings. So this is an example of us being able to monitor assets. So here we've got some contact closures tied into it. And so when Dimitri is going to open up the door, it's going to raise an alert into our dashboard. So it gets triggered here that the AED at the terminal 10 got opened, but it doesn't trigger it to Avigilon. Now, if she actually pulls out the defibrillator, we receive that alert in our dashboard and also send it to ACC. So this is an example of us being able to filter different types of alarms so that not necessarily everything is always going to the Avigilon alarm system. So those are two quick examples of some of the things that we can use for inputs. But what do you need in order for this to work? So on the Avigilon side, you need version 7 or higher. And on the Teldio Edge Gateway, you need version 2.2. Now I'm going to pass it back over to Kale, who's going to go over a little bit more use cases in the power of Teldio Edge Gateway and Avigilon.
Thanks, Mark. That was great to kind of see the system in action. I know for myself personally, I'm a visual learner, so to kind of see things working, that's how I understand things. So thanks for that. All right, so we wanted to give you guys some use cases, some real world examples of things that we've had success with, and we think you can as well. We wanted to do that in different verticals, so we've got 4 up here for you. The first one is healthcare. So we've talked a lot about how, external sensors can trigger alarms in the ACC. But we mentioned at the start that it's a bi-directional connection. So it doesn't have to be just us triggering. Avigilon can also trigger. So in a healthcare example, we have, a patient who wanders away from where they're supposed to be. They go into an area that is, off limits. And the ACC system understands that they've left, they've gone somewhere else, and it triggers an alarm. It sends that alarm to Teldio, which then populates that information on an alarm dashboard. So that alarm dashboard has a pop-up. Somebody in that dispatch center understands that the patient has left where they're supposed to be. But at the same time, it can also make a phone call out to the security office to let them know that this has happened, and they can respond to that patient, get them back safely to where they need to be, and take care of them. So it doesn't have to always be external systems triggering the ACC. The ACC can also trigger the gateway to reach out to other systems. So that's a healthcare example. The next one I want to talk about is kind of the classic hospitality scenario. So you've got a front house staff, you know, they're checking somebody in, or maybe the person's checking out, they want a late checkout, they can't get it, they're upset, you know, and they start getting irate. They start yelling, and the employee feels like they're at risk. They feel like the guests are at risk. And if you've worked with hospitality clients before, you know that the number one thing they care about is the protection of their guests and staff. So what do? They reach under their desk. They've got a concealed panic button. Now this panic button, it could be wired, could be wireless, but regardless, what it's going to do is it's going to send an alarm to trigger Avigilon to start recording. So the alarm's going to go to the gateway. The gateway is going to send it to Avigilon. Avigilon's going to start recording that scenario. It's going to be recording that desk, and they can go back later. They can review, hey, how did we handle this incident? What happened? You know, if there's some sort of lawsuit or something, you can go back and look at the recording. So they get that recording, but at the same time, it's also going to send a notification out via SMS to a security member. Maybe it's on their phone. It could also be on their radio, but they're going to get that message. They're going to come and they're going to assist that member of staff, and they're going to keep the guests safe. That's the value here. Another example could be in manufacturing. So I love this example. You know, you have a manufacturing line, you've got some sort of conveyor belt, and something goes wrong. You know, the conveyor belt stops. There's a sensor that understands that the belt has stopped. It sends an alert out to Teldio. We trigger Avigilon to start recording and view that area. The staff at the manufacturing plant can look, and they can quickly see, hey, the conveyor belt has stopped. Was it a machine error? Was it a human error? Once they understand what the error is and how they can fix it, they can react quickly. And if you've worked with manufacturing clients, you know that downtime costs money. 10 minutes could be $60,000 out of their pocket. So with that information, you can provide them value. You can say, hey, we can help you avoid these situations. We can help, you know, record the information. We can review it later. We can handle it better next time. So that's just one example for manufacturing. Lastly, for data centers. So, I mean, data centers are crazy. They've got so many different sensors that could check temperature, humidity, power fluctuation, all sorts of different things. So in a data center, let's just say that the humidity sensor, as an example, goes off, it triggers. It's too high, you're putting those computers at risk, you know, it's a data center for a bank, and, you know, they really have to make sure that everything's going to function properly. So you get that alarm. It goes to the Teldio gateway. The Teldio gateway raises an alarm in Avigilon, and it bookmarks that video. Now, here's the cool part. So not only has it been bookmarked in Avigilon, but the alarm has also at the same time been sent out to the staff on site onto their device, and they can actually go and solve that problem. So I used humidity as an example. So I don't know, maybe they have a dehumidifier. So they bring a dehumidifier in, they set it up, and they you know, the humidity goes down and everything's good again. They can actually respond to that alarm on their device and notify that it's cleared, and it will clear from the Avigilon screen. So these are just some examples that we've experienced. We have experience in all these different verticals here, and we wanted you guys to kind of, you know, understand these, start piquing your interest, start thinking about customers that could potentially use this, and, you know, bring this to them as an example. This is how I can save you money. This is how I can give you value. That's what everyone wants. All right. So, I mean, why are you guys here? Why are we taking up time today? What do you care? You know, why should you care? Well, this is why. We want to enable you guys to make bigger sales. I love making bigger sales. You guys love making bigger sales. Everybody wants to land that next big fish. Everyone wants to get the next big deal. We want to take you guys from a $100,000 deal to a $500,000 deal, from a $500,000 to a clean $1 million deal, maybe more, hopefully more. I hope it's more. So we want you guys to have that. We want you to provide value. And this is how you do that, by giving them that universal remote, putting everything in one place. If you show them what you can do, they will buy it. All right, the next point here. I love this one. I'm in sales, clearly. You know, I always look for any reason to call somebody back, to talk to them about a support agreement, ask them how the software is going, check in with them. You know, I'm always looking for a reason to call them. Now, it's a little bit different. Like if you were buying a car, for example, and you buy a car, you drive it off the lot, guess what? It's 30% worse. It's depreciated 30% out of nowhere, thin air. It's gone. You're not doing that. You're actually calling them back and you're saying, hey, remember that Avigilon software I sold you? It's actually better. Your car actually has 100 more horsepower now. That's a reason to call somebody. They're going to be excited about it. You can give them more value. You can be the person that changes things for them, that makes their life better, and in every way makes their operation run smoother and saves them a ton of money. That's what this is for you guys. And lastly, differentiate. So you got to be different. I mean, there's tons of video solutions out there. There's lots of different ones. How are you guys going to be different? This is how, tying into those external systems, working with those variety of inputs and outputs. This is how you're going to win your next big deal. I want to make you more money. We can help make you more money. Reach out to us. All right, so at this point, we're going to pass it over to questions. So hopefully you guys have some. We're excited to hear what they are. Submit them in the chat box and we will try to answer them.
All right, this is Dimitri Silva from Teldio. So we already have a few questions that have come through the chat, and I just sent a message to everyone as well. Please send in your questions through that chat box. So one of the first questions we got was from Alex, who asked, will the Teldio system work as an intermediary between access control system and the ACC, and how? So the answer is yes. So as you can see, we support quite a bit of input protocols. So it's just about figuring out how can that access control system raise events when they detect some sort of a breach, some sort of a disturbance, and that message can come to the edge gateway, and we can communicate that with the ACC to trigger an event in there. So it could be a MQTT message, a web service message, an email, SMS. So it could be with something you have already, or it could be something we provide as well. Then we have a question from Peter, who's asking, you mentioned radio integrations. Can we speak to it more? Yes, so radio, with the Avigilon system, with all these inputs that you have, the Avigilon system can generate itself. So the Avigilon system can generate many events. We can take those and send it out to radios as text messages, but also as audio messages. And I'll be honest, the Avigilon system, I believe, can already do that, but the power of the adding on the Teldio system is it won't be just radios and such. We can also, at the same time that the radio users get a message, we could also send it to a dashboard, turn on a light, call a phone system. You can use it in combination as well. And people can also acknowledge these messages. Mark, if you think you can talk more to this, people can acknowledge these messages and have the status of these alarms updated on Avigilon itself, ACC itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, when we send out that message as either a text message or job ticket or something, when they respond back, we can match up to the alarm that was raised and then send that an acknowledgement signal back to ACC to acknowledge it, and then say who acknowledged it, so that there's an event or a history log of that person acknowledging the alarm and being responsible for it.
Thank you. So we have another question. The various rules you mentioned, what is your configuration interface for these workflows? I think Mark briefly showed that, but it is a Teldio gateway product where you just pretty much create your module. So it's, let's say you have an alarm system that you want. You have your ACC, and then you want to, when there's an event, send it out as a SMS message. So you create your connection to the ACC, then you create your connection to the SMS system, and then we have a little bit of a if this then that kind of very user intuitive rule saying where you select to say, okay, from a drop down you can just select this is the event. When this triggers, send it to these SMS users. We can actually demo this in further detail about in a private demo. So feel free to reach out to us. We can definitely help you with that because and a lot of people who see this, I think there's a few people who've seen this interface. It is quite user friendly. Anyone can do it, and customers, dealers, so they can also. It's very easy to understand. So. Someone's asking me what is the cost per input. That is a question we'd very much like to answer you. So you can see there a little on the top right there, our sales contact information. Call us, email us, Kale and our team. They'll be happy to take your questions and send any cost related details there. All the sensors you mentioned, the Teldio products, are they third party? I would say they are Teldio approved products. They are products that we've tested with, we've verified. The AD example that you saw me do, that's used in one of those sensors. We've tested with, we know exactly how to configure it. Our application is set up to talk to them automatically. So they're all sourced through Teldio. All right, let's see. More questions asking about the cost of the edge gateways, and as we we are going to get a list of all these questions. If we don't ask them, we will follow up with you individually as well. Where can we find that Teldio approved list? If you mean what protocols we approved, or if it's the actual sensors, again, contact sales, we can send you a document that lists all the protocols that we support. I always tell that we should share the document as a link because those supported list of protocols is always growing. So if you might get something last week, it might be outdated by this week. So we have it as a linked document that's continually updated. So it just continues to add more and more sources that you can use to trigger events into ACC and also trigger events out from ACC as well. Let's see. I've been so we have a question here. I think I can pass this on to Mark Okres. What types of inputs can Teldio provide that are not available through the ACC cameras and access control? Mark, could you take that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So essentially looking for not available through ACC cameras and access control. With the Teldio Edge Gateway, like Dee mentioned, there's lots of third-party sensors and all that stuff. So right now we're able to integrate into a lot of IoT sensors that are communicating via Zigbee protocol back to a modem, a mesh modem, and then we receive those information into the Edge Gateway. And with those different modules in there, some of them get very low level of being able to support raw IP, TCP packet, UDP packets, web services. So if there's something that we can't support at the moment, it's relatively easy for us to be able to quickly configure a module that can read the raw data, parse it for a particular type of protocol, and then send those events through our rules engine or actions engine there, and then send that off to ACC or vice versa.
All right, thank you. Yeah, asking, I think, yeah, this is asking if the radio integration we have is a Motorola product. So we do send out the radios, and we currently we do send out to Motorola radios as well, just through a small donor radio that it goes out. So the radio integration today is with Motorola. We could, on that ever expanding list of protocols, other radio manufacturers could be added in the future. All right, that's a lot of questions. A lot of good questions, thank you. And if you do think of more questions to ask, or if I missed any one of your questions, please do reach out to us at sales@teldio.com. All right, I think we will stop the questions portion for now. So Kale, I'll throw it back to you to for the rest of the webinar.
Perfect. Dee, thanks so much for passing that back over. I just wanted to say, guys, once again, Kale here at Teldio. I'm your guy for anything Avigilon related. If you need anything, you need a brochure, give me a call. You need to do a presentation, give me a call. You have questions about whether this can work in your specific scenario, give me a call. I'm your guy. I'll do whatever I can to support you guys through the sales process and make sure that you land your next big deal. So with that said, thanks everybody for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed it.